Good morning, welcome along to the Late Show Live. Joining me this evening in Washington DC is my panel, former Chief of Staff for Marco Rubio for President Matt Terrell and the Democratic strategist Mally Smith. And in London, I'm delighted to say she stayed up late, she's got the coffees in, Editor-at-Large of the Mail on Sunday, Charlotte Griffiths. Morning Charlotte, thanks for sticking around. We'll catch up with you in just a tick. Right, before we get stuck into today's main news, let's head live to California, where I'm assuming it's a little bit warmer than the east coast of America, where there's a star-studded gala championing breast cancer awareness. Journalist Daphne Barak joins us live now. Daphne, great to see you. First of all, is it warmer? I assume it is. Oh, sorry, we'll go with the panel first. Mally, hello. Good morning.
Hello,
good afternoon. Good evening. What day is it? What week
Saturday,
is it? Saturday night. Saturday morning in the UK. And Matt, welcome along to the Late Show Live, your debut. So you were head of staff, chief of staff for Marco Rubio?
In the 2016 campaign.
Yes.
So when he ran for president, had the great honor of being the chief of staff on his campaign, and now I get to have the great honor of being on a show like this. Welcome
along. And was that the campaign where President Trump at the time was calling Rubio Little Marco? Is that the
Well, that was then, and this is now. And Secretary Rubio's doing a fantastic job in the administration. It's clear that President Trump and Secretary Rubio have a great relationship. Yeah. It's amazing to see that.
I think Rubio's solid, and I said to you off air, I think he'll be the 2028 or 9 runner, whenever it is. I think he'll be the top pick. Anyway, Daphne's now ready from California. Daphne, good evening. Thanks for joining us tonight. What's going on where you are? Tell us about this gala. It's star-studded. I think there's some top politicians there. Fill us in, please, will you, Daphne?
It's a beautiful weather. And Bill and I just came from Davos, which was icy, so thank God. But yes, I'm hosting tonight my cancer charity gala with UCSD. It's huge. Secretary Kennedy is headlining it with his very famous wife, ex-Michelle Hines. Alexis Wilkins, the country singer, is a performer. Her future husband is the head of FBI. So we have a lot of Secret Service here. And many, many celebrities, billionaires from all around the world. I mean, I am very fascinated, Ben, about one celebrity, Black China. Could you imagine? I mean, I love it. Just the idea that your mother-in-law is Kris Jenner, you know, whatever, right?
Yeah. Sounds amazing. Why is it so important, Daphne? And where can people find out more?
Well, I think it's more important because I went out with my cancer charity, as you know, with the Daily Mail and the Sun and Paramount and yourself, and I wanted to say, okay, chemo is not a death sentence. Chemo is a life sentence, because some people don't want to get checked because they don't want to say, oh, if I have chemo, whatever, I lose my hair, I lose my life, whatever. No, chemo is terrible. I've been there, I've done that. The side effects are incredibly painful. But after I did the only interviews with Ghislaine Maxwell in jail and Britney Spears' kids and everything, I didn't work for 1 year. It did not affect my lifestyle or anything because of my status, but it would affect other people. And I understood we do have to get money for others. But I did come back, as we know, after a year by exposing Sarah Ferguson and the former Prince Andrew, thanks to me, the former email.
And it's all kicking off with Andrews tonight, Daphne. It's all kicking off. Where can people find out more about the charity?
What I want to say, Ben, is that if I could do that, you can do it as well.
Yeah,
I mean,
of course. It sounds like a great evening for
a very... If I beat cancer, you can do it as well.
Yeah. Daphne, thank you so much. Have fun tonight. Say hello to all the stars and the celebs and enjoy yourself. We'll catch up soon. Thank you, Daphne. Right, let's move on. Breaking tonight, we understand that the White House is concerned Britain's deal on the Chagos Islands could expose the United States to spying from the Chinese. Well, we could have told you that a year ago, but now the White House are paying attention. As we understand it, it's thought that Beijing operates a fleet of vessels disguised as fishing boats to carry out espionage missions in exclusive economic zones around the islands. And now the pressure is rapidly intensifying for President Trump to completely sink the deal for good, nuke it, torpedo it, rip it up. That's despite UK government officials lobbying the president to keep it. Well, joining me in Washington, D.C. is my panel, as I said, former Chief of Staff for Marco Rubio for President Matt Terrell and the Democrat strategist Mally Smith, or Malbert Smith if you're being naughty, Mally, so behave yourself tonight. On the streets of Washington, D.C., listeners, viewers, panel, I'm describing this as a battle between the globalist deep state. You've got officials, Matt, from the Foreign Office in the UK, the British Embassy, you've got Jonathan Powell, who is Keir Starmer's National Security Advisor, and you've also got representatives from the CIA and the NSA, all in President Trump's ear saying, no, keep this deal, it's fine, China won't be an issue, let the UK give away the Chagos Islands and 30 billion quid in the process. And then you've got on the flip side, MAGA UK patriots who understand quite clearly that this deal is, as I keep describing it, it's the best way to describe it, it stinks like kippers for breakfast. What's your take on this deal? Will President Trump nuke this deal next week?
Well, it's going to be up to President Trump to decide, but we've already seen him come out and voice his concerns with this deal. And you also have Americans nationwide, majority of who voted for President Trump in the 2024 election, who care deeply about America First policy. And a big part of that is going to be putting America first. And what does that mean? Making decisions that make America more prosperous, safe, and secure. And like with the Chagos Islands deal here, Greenland has been an example of this. You've seen President Trump in Greenland working to acquire Greenland. That was clear that that's something he wants to move forward with. The reason why? Because of China, because of Russia, trying to counter those countries, and this is a big part of that as well.
Mally, do you think President Trump is now paying attention to the Chagos surrender because of the way Keir Starmer behaved over Greenland? Is it just him saying, well, you didn't stick with us over Greenland, so screw Chagos?
I think that partly could be it. I think if he was more successful in his attempts to get Greenland, he might not be so angry at the UK when it comes to the Chagos Islands. The thing that interests me, though, is that we got to this point where originally Marco Rubio and the State Department okayed this. They said, this is fine, UK, go forward, and Rubio put out words of support. And now we have Trump backtracking and saying essentially we should kill this deal, and you have Rubio doing the same. And it's just surprising to me it got to this point where they had to take steps back and essentially withdraw that this is something they wanted to do, because to me this always seemed like a deal that President Trump would dislike. President Trump has voiced criticism of the deal the United States did decades ago to give up the Panama Canal, right? This is something President Trump is going to be very hesitant of, for having nations essentially just give up territory that they control for broader reasons like international law.
Yeah.
So it's just interesting to me that we got to this point in contradiction of what Trump would usually do.
Yeah, Charlotte Griffiths is down the line. Charlotte, good morning. How are you doing? Thanks for your company. I don't understand why the Americans initially agreed to this last year. It was Joe Biden's deal, but Trump has an off-ramp now. I think he can say next week, this was Biden's deal. It's rubbish, it stinks, I don't want anything to do with it. But I just don't understand why the administration initially, even when Trump was elected later in the year, didn't torpedo it. The argument is, Charlotte, that the Labour government duped them. They didn't tell them about all the little caveats, the national security issues. They just went to the administration, we hear, and said, no, it's fine, trust us, we've looked into it, we've done the legalities. What would happen for Sir Keir Starmer's reputation, Charlotte, if and when this deal is nuked and Chagos stays under British rule?
Well, it'll be yet another U-turn for Keir Starmer. He already looks completely weak for even entering into this discussion, into this deal in the first place. Now he's going to look like kind of Uncle Trump had to come and intervene and show him what to do. And America, the UK first will be a byproduct of America first. And it's just another example of Keir Starmer never really putting the UK first. It's been a mystery to me for well over a year how this has even been a good idea at all. And I think you hit the nail on the head when you said that maybe Trump just wasn't paying attention. Because I remember around the whole Greenland issue, it suddenly occurred to Trump that we weren't being paid 30 billion, we were paying 30 billion. And do you remember he was quite surprised and shocked? So I just think he just wasn't paying attention. And also, I think you're right, probably he was being a little bit duped at the same time. But as soon as he was fully aware of the issue, he's obviously snapped into action and he's going to torpedo it, quite rightly.
Let me tell you, speaking to Americans on the streets of Washington, D.C. and beyond, when you explain Chagos, they're not all familiar with it, why would they be? But when you explain what we're doing, as President Trump was surprised about, he says, what's wrong with the UK? Do they need the money or something? Nobody can get their heads around how insane our government is behaving. That not only are we giving away islands to a country that never owned those islands before. We're not giving the islands back to Mauritius. They never damn owned the islands, but we're also paying for the privilege as well. Then you've got the China situation, the mega embassy. It all starts to make a little bit of sense. Charlotte, thank you very much. Hang tight. We'll come back to you later on in the show. Louise Mensch is down the line from New York, former Conservative MP, fellow Brit, and I think also an American citizen. Now, Louise, are you a dual national? Just let me clear that up in my head.
I am. Yes, I got both hats that I can wear. I am both
Good.
British and American, which is really cool. It's nice to have the perspective go two ways.
Yeah, lucky you. So what do you make of Chagos then, as an American and as a Brit?
I'm outraged as both, to be quite frank. First of all, the reason that Keir Starmer had to stop this is that the Conservatives, who've been fighting this incredibly hard in the House of Lords, especially my friend Dan Hannan, put forward a motion saying you're actually in violation of a treaty that the United Kingdom signed with the United States. As you can imagine, if there's going to be some kind of a joint base, which there is in Diego Garcia, between the Americans and the British, there is going to be a treaty that governs it. And that treaty states quite clearly that the Chagos Islands will remain in British sovereignty. So unless Donald Trump actively gives permission to override this treaty, the Chagos deal is not going ahead.
Yeah, and it's also, there's so many caveats which we heard from Rob Midgley from the Friends of British Overseas Territories last night on the show, who revealed that the State Department and Rubio will be penning a letter to the Foreign Office next week. It would arrive in Whitehall next week, basically saying, we don't like this deal, we feel like we were dupes, you didn't tell us about all these little caveats, i.e. the fact that African nations who are allied with China can go and inspect the military base on Diego Garcia under some sort of weird weapons treaty from years ago, and that we could do nothing about it. So you basically got China allies allowed to waltz into Diego Garcia, tell China whatever they want about the military setup there. The whole thing stinks. What do you think will happen to Keir Starmer if and when this is torpedoed? Because Starmer's always said, Louise, we won't go ahead unless we've got the backing of the United States government. I don't think they have the backing of the government. I think it's about to be ripped up. Where does that leave Keir Starmer politically?
He's done so many U-turns that it looks a bit like Spaghetti Junction, I think, in number 10 Downing Street, private apartments. And this is going to be another one. Trump is not best pleased with Keir Starmer for not supporting him on Greenland. On that one, I reluctantly have to say I agreed with Keir Starmer, but it annoyed Trump very, very much. And then after that, what does Keir Starmer do? He goes off and he goes to China, which Trump is also not pleased about. So there are real national security issues, as you so rightly pointed out, and you lit on the exact point that I thought of when I read the Telegraph article covering this. The treaties that Mauritius has signed, the African League of Nations to which it belonged, would give infinite allies of both China and Russia and other hostile powers the right to go and inspect an American base. And honestly, if Keir Starmer thinks that is going to happen, he is dreaming. He would be well advised to say, I've decided that this issue needs more study and just do a reverse ferret, because at the end of the day, this deal is clearly not going to happen. It's clearly not going to go through. And what's he going to look like then? Just unutterably weak.
Yeah. Well, front page of the Mail on Sunday, Sunday, it basically talks about Angela Rayner's massive war chest. She's got a lot of money to try and topple Keir Starmer. Wes Streeting's rumoured to be waiting in the wings. Andy Burnham for now is being quashed, but they're all lining up. They're lining up like vultures to take his place because he is the weakest, the most inauthentic Prime Minister going. I'm not just saying that as an opposition to Labour. It's just true. He's got no ideology, he's got no authenticity, no autent, doesn't know what he's doing. Louise, sorry, I digress. I'll catch up with you in the next hour or so where we talk about ICE and so on. For now, thank you, Louise Mensch, former Tory MP. Right, former aide to Margaret Thatcher is here. Niall Gardner as well. Niall, I know you're very passionate about Chagos. I think this is the beginning of the end. I think it's a matter of time. As night comes today, I think Chagos comes to destruction. What's your take?
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Ben. I think we're definitely going to win this battle, actually, and this will be a huge humiliation for Keir Starmer, and I think a defeat that will be big enough, potentially even to bring him down, because after all, the Chagos surrender deal is the flagship foreign policy initiative of the Labour government, and if this all collapses, which I expect it will do, I do think this is big enough actually to bring about Keir Starmer's downfall as Prime Minister, and which is why, of course, Starmer is fighting so hard right now to try and salvage the deal. And Downing Street is spending a huge amount of political capital in Washington as we speak, trying to convince civil servants actually within the Trump administration to side with the surrender deal. And I think this approach as well by Keir Starmer, it's nefarious, it's very dangerous. They're trying, of course, to undermine President Trump, who's 100% opposed to the Chagos surrender deal. And so the game that the Labour government is playing in Washington, I think, is hugely destructive. And there's going to be a furious backlash, I think, from the White House.
Niall, let's talk more about that, because for me, as I've been describing it, it is the British and American deep state, the globalists running around the streets of Washington trying to lobby the Trump administration. You've got Jonathan Powell, Keir Starmer's national security advisor. You've got officials from Downing Street. You've got officials from the Foreign Office. You've got officials from the British Embassy here in Washington, alongside, in their little squad of globalists, representatives from the CIA, from the NSA, all trying to win the ear of President Trump and say, no, it's fine, President Trump, go ahead with it, give away the Chagos Islands, it's fine. Sorry, allow the Brits to give away the Chagos Islands. That, for me, is quite sinister. The way they've organised themselves and scurried around Washington since President Trump tweeted about the stupidity of Chagos, it just shows that the deep state, the blob, whatever you want to call it, it exists. It is a thing, Niall.
Yes, and I would say this, Ben, that the Labour government is actively attempting to undermine the President of the United States, the leader of the free world. And this, I think, is absolutely disgraceful and destructive. And I've spoken to numerous White House officials over the past few months about the Chagos issue. Every single one of them is opposed to the Chagos surrender deal, every single one. And there's growing opposition to the deal across Washington. And I witnessed firsthand last year the efforts by the Labour government, particularly by the Foreign Office, actually really led by, at the time, the then British Ambassador Peter Mandelson, to try and influence and shape US government policy over Chagos. And the British government invested a huge amount of effort, actually, in trying to get the US administration to support the Chagos deal. They're now redoubling those efforts following President Trump's intervention. I do think they're going to fail, actually. And I think the nefarious attempts, actually, by the Labour government to undermine President Trump are going to end in disaster, actually, for the Labour government. And I do believe, actually, this is big enough to bring about the downfall of Keir Starmer, which is why he's so desperately fighting now to try and salvage what is an absolutely horrific and horrendous anti-American and anti-British deal.
Yeah, indeed. I think it's betrayal. Niall Gardner, you said it. It could be, or I think it is, the beginning of the end of Chagos and the beginning of the end of Keir Starmer. I think people have had enough of him. I'm hearing what you're hearing here in Washington, D.C. This administration doesn't think a lot of our Labour government in the UK, of Keir Starmer. I know President Trump likes to be polite in public and, call Keir Starmer and his European counterparts friends and so on. But let me tell you, they don't think very highly of our lot back in Downing Street. Niall Gardner, thanks very much. We'll catch up again soon.
Thank you very much.
GBnews.com/your say. Are you pleased that the Chagos deal is on the brink of being torpedoed? Lots of you I know will be. I don't think I've met one person who thinks the Chagos giveaway and us paying 30 billion quid for it is a good idea. If you find anyone, let me know. Still ahead on The Late Show Live. Well, that lot thought they would spend their Saturday, their weekend off work, or maybe they just don't work, in President Trump's Trump Tower in New York City. Anti-ICE protesters, they took over the tower and the lobby. President Trump not happy, I assume. I'll bring you his scathing intervention shortly. But first...
Mr. Gates, do you have anything further to say about the Epstein files that mentioned your name overnight?
Cheers, bud.
There's even more bombshell revelations from the Epstein files. Last night we had Bill Gates, we had STDs, we had Melinda, we had all sorts going on, Russian hookers. Tonight there's even more. So Keir Starmer's weighed in as well. More on that in just a tick on The Late Show Live.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Westminster, the ultimate clique. And you're fighting like rats in a sack. But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask. OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician. Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits. You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
And
say,
now you've lost it. That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless. No, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show. Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I got up?
About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Today we are producing more than 3 million pages, including more than 2,000 videos and 180,000 images.
Well, that was yesterday's announcement that the US Department of Justice was releasing millions of Epstein files. Tonight, even more bombshells are being uncovered. They're juicy, let me tell you. And breaking tonight, Sir Keir Starmer suggested that Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor, formerly Prince Andrew, of course, he should testify before the US Congress over this side of the pond over his dealings with Jeffrey Epstein. He's been summoned to Congress. They can't force him to go, but the House Oversight Committee here has requested his esteemed company. Let's say that. He can say no, though, of course, but Keir Starmer tonight is saying, Andrew, if you've got anything about you, get yourself to the US and testify in Congress. The Prime Minister's comments, of course, come after the latest release of files related to Epstein, which include images appearing to show Andrew kneeling over a female lying on the ground. A little bit weird. I don't know what's going on here. I don't think it particularly means anything. Andrew, though, has previously denied, of course, any claims of wrongdoing. And appearing in the files does not imply wrongdoing, of course. My panel are back with me. Former Chief of Staff for Marco Rubio for President, Matt Terrell, and the Democrat strategist, Mally Smith. Charlotte Griffiths is also with us, Editor-at-Large at the Mail on Sunday. Charlotte, I guess I'll come to you first. What's your take on all this? Will Prince Andrew come to the US? I don't think he will. I actually, Charlotte, I'll be honest, I may get some stick for this. I'm beginning to feel a little bit sorry for Andrew. Yes, he's an idiot. Yes, he lied. But I think the man's probably had enough.
Do you know, that has been the narrative, Ben, here in the UK for the last 2 or 3 weeks. People have started to say they're starting to feel sorry for him. You see articles in the papers saying that Princess Anne thinks the King's gone too far, Prince Edward thinks the King's gone too far. But then, as of yesterday, I think all of that kind of good PR went completely out the window. I have to say, I disagree with you. I think it's got 100 times worse, and there's more to come. And I actually think Fergie is about to have her day. I think it's, I mean, obviously Fergie's highly implicated already. I think it's going to get even worse for Fergie. And I've got a piece on page 11 of the Mail on Sunday today in which Fergie, and I won't use the word, I actually can't use it even on late night television, it said something incredibly crude and sexual about her own daughter to Epstein in an email. It's just hideous. And apparently the next tranche, when it comes, will be very incriminating. Well, I shouldn't really say incriminating, but, you know, not a good look for Fergie.
Yeah, and, you know, I saw that email from Fergie, from Sarah Ferguson to Epstein. She was basically saying, was it Eugenie? She was saying, oh, Eugenie's coming back from a something weekend, and the word something rhymes with wagging. Yeah, dirty weekend away. It rhymes with wagging. You can guess what it is. I just think that, so interesting to hear what you say. You think it's going to get worse for Andrew. What was it over the last 24 hours you think has kind of flipped that narrative of the sympathy narrative? Is it the fact that he was inviting Epstein to Buckingham Palace even after his conviction? What was it particularly that caught your eye?
Well, there were yet more examples of how he lied in Newsnight, and, you know, every day brings a new example of how Newsnight was just a total pack of lies. The fact that he offered up Buckingham Palace, so obviously the most famous building in the UK, as a sanctuary of privacy for Epstein to join him and do whatever they wanted to do in private. He said, come to Buckingham Palace, it's more private. That's highly damaging for the royal family. And I think that the King lanced the boil a while ago, very thoroughly, by taking absolutely everything away from him and putting him in isolation in Norfolk. And if he hadn't have done that, then today would be yet another kind of reopening of the Pandora's box of the royal family. And also, you know, William is under a lot of pressure to modernise the monarchy when he becomes king, and he just has to get rid of this guy, because this just keeps going on year after year, week after week, day after day, and they've got to find a way to distance the royal family from Andrew.
OK. Mally, what's your take on the Epstein files? Anything particularly that's taken your fancy?
Well, I find it very depressing because we see, both from the government, a lack of transparency. They're already in violation of the Epstein law. All of the documents were supposed to be released basically a month ago with limited redactions. We're getting this drip and drab of documents released. They're heavily redacted, and the redactions are supposed to be explained. All of this is legally required, and it's not being held, and it's not essentially being held accountable, and the Trump administration is breaking the law. But then also the other thing that's depressing is we see a host of prominent people who claimed they broke off ties with Epstein much earlier than they actually did, because we see these emails, them emailing Epstein. We have Steve Bannon, who said he cut off ties with Epstein, sending thousands of text messages up to the basically month he died. We have the Commerce Secretary saying that he cut off ties with Epstein in 2005, while in actuality he was emailing and even arranging visits to his private island up to 2013. And we have Elon Musk himself, who said he cut off ties with Epstein much earlier than he actually did. So we have a host of people, predominantly on the MAGA Republican side, who are lying to us, and they have much more extensive ties with Epstein than they are saying.
Matt, what's your take on that?
Well, my take is that President Trump is being transparent right now. You saw them release over 3 million documents. You're seeing him work with Congress on this. And look, the truth is, you have to be methodical about this. Part of that is being mindful of victim names, information related to victims. But at the end of the day, what Americans want is transparency. They want justice. And I think that President Trump is working, and the DOJ is working, to provide exactly that. And look, the truth is this. The Biden DOJ could release these documents. They didn't. And furthermore, to that point, all these Democrats on Capitol Hill who are pushing back against President Trump on this, I didn't see him calling on the Biden DOJ to release these documents. So is this about the policy of this, or is it about the politics of it? I think it's about the politics of it. I think right now Democrats are trying to use this as a political tactic. That's not going to work. And the bottom line is this. You're seeing a lot of images and a lot of information come out here. We got to take all this methodically, put it in context, and go from there on this.
Interesting. Charlotte, very quickly in 20 seconds, how is Andrew? Do you know? How's his mental health? I know there was some concerns in recent weeks.
Yeah, not good at all. He was seen riding, actually, and Princess Beatrice was seen visiting him about a week ago. But he's not speaking to his daughter usually. He's not speaking to Fergie. He's at a really low ebb. I think it's very telling he had his guns taken away from him because he's a shooting fanatic. But, you know, that normally means a GP has said you can't have guns in the house because your mental health is suffering.
OK, Charlotte, great stuff. Thank you very much. gbnews.com/you'll say. Paul, you've said, Ben, how can you say that picture of Andrew doesn't show anything bad? He's straddled across a girl on the floor. Yes, we don't know the age of the girl, but is that the way a member of the royal family should be conducting himself? Andrew is a wrong 'un. Yeah, look, I've said Andrew's an idiot. I don't have much sympathy for him, but I'm just saying that picture particularly, who knows what was going on? They could have been playing Twister. We don't know. gbnews.com/you'll say. Keep those coming in. Right, let's take a quick look at some of the other main news here in America. Breaking tonight, President Trump has announced the government will not assist Democrat-run cities with ongoing anti-immigration enforcement riots unless help is requested. The FBI has begun reviewing evidence seized from an election hub in Georgia. President Donald Trump has repeatedly claimed fraud tainted the Georgia results, a state he narrowly lost to former President Joe Biden. Of course, President Trump saying the 2020 election was rigged. And elsewhere, a federal judge has ordered the release of 5-year-old Liam Conejo Ramos and his father from the South Texas Family Residential Center. If you remember, they were detained by ICE agents in Minneapolis and sent to a Texas detention facility where they've been for more than a week. The DHS, of course, the Department of Homeland Security, saying the boy's father ran off when ICE tried to apprehend him. To royal news now, and the King has surprised joggers at a local Sandringham Park run organised in partnership with the Move Against Cancer charity. The King attended the event as a spectator ahead of World Cancer Day next week. Wow, right, lots to get through. Coming up next on The Late Show Live. Breaking tonight, anti-immigration enforcement protesters, or people with more time on their hands than they should have, in my description. They've hijacked the Trump Tower in New York. They've gone into the lobby, they've sat there, they've shouted and blown their whistles and refused to leave. The president has just unleashed his fury on cities being taken over by protests like never before. But first, a new Netflix documentary on Lucy Letby is sparking outrage, forcing her parents, Lucy's parents, to break their silence for the first time. I'll bring you that trailer for the documentary, which is released next week. I'll show that to you in a second and tell you what Lucy's parents are saying and why and who they're furious with. This is The Late Show Live, only on GB News.
I'm Michael Portillo. This is GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster, the ultimate clique. And you're fighting like rats in a sack. But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask. OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician. Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off-limits.
You
had the power then.
Yeah, as I
And
say,
now you've lost it. That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless. But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show. Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pearce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I got up?
About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m. weekdays here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Stephen Dixon, and thanks for joining us on GB News, Britain's news channel.
It's a once-in-a-generation type case.
Babies kept dying.
This nurse had a central role. We needed to arrest her.
We interviewed her over numerous hours. We'd uncovered some concerning pieces of evidence. He wrote a note saying, "I killed them on purpose."
Well, that was the trailer for the new Lucy Letby Netflix documentary. It's out on Wednesday next week. But some more breaking news tonight. Lucy Letby's parents have hit out at that documentary, set for release next week, breaking their silence for the first time since she was jailed in 2023. Their names are Susan and John Letby. They've condemned the programme for using police footage of their daughter's arrest at their home where Letby was staying, describing it as a complete invasion of privacy. They've also claimed that the chief investigating officer in their daughter's case, quote, seemed to have a deep hatred of them. There's images on your screen now of Letby being arrested. The show, which is released on Wednesday, will depict Letby in her bed when police first arrest her. They go into the family home. She has, of course, always maintained her innocence, with many backing calls for the case to be re-examined. That's despite her being convicted of the murders of 7 babies and the attempted murders of 7 others at the Countess of Chester Hospital between 2015 and 2016. My panel are back with me now. The former Chief of Staff for Marco Rubio for President, Matt Terrell, Democrat strategist Maddie Smith, and Charlotte Griffiths, editor-at-large of the Mail on Sunday. Charlotte, I'll go to you, as you probably know more about this than the two chaps next to me. The parents of Lucy Letby breaking their silence for the first time. Where do you stand, Charlotte, in this Letby case? It's dividing a nation, isn't it? Is she innocent? Is she a victim of gross injustice?
Oh, I can never decide where I stand on Lucy, on the case itself, and on Lucy herself, but I definitely am on the side of her parents, because what they're saying is that, Lucy's house in Chester has become something of a tourist attraction, a kind of sick tourist attraction. People turn up there the whole time. They're saying their house is now in the documentary, this Netflix documentary. They didn't have any warning whatsoever that it would be. They're worried that people are going to loiter outside their house and, you know, jeer at them, or who knows what they might do. And they feel it's really unfair. They also feel that the Netflix documentary is sort of binge watching at their expense, you know, trying to capitalise on the binge watching and the true crime obsession that we have in this country. And they don't really, you know, have any reason to be part of the narrative. You know, they want their right to privacy.
I guess so. The CPS, I mean, the evidence given in court, it is public. So the press, Netflix, they are allowed to go and use that footage. The CPS gave it to them. I think the police must have given it to them as well. But yeah, I get your point. Although I would like, I mean, Mally, have you heard of Lucy Letby?
So no, I had to do some research about this when I saw this was a topic. I mean, I will certainly be watching the Netflix documentary, as this country too is obsessed with true crime. I feel sorry for the family. I mean, even whether she did it or was just accused, it has to be terrible to have to deal with these accusations that your daughter did this, or with the reality that your daughter committed these crimes. But my question, Ben, to you as a British person and who knows more about this, is the contention that she killed these children through neglect, or that she is a psychopath who attempted to kill these children on purpose?
The latter, that she killed them on purpose. She was accused, well, found guilty in court of, I think as far as I remember off the top of my head, injecting insulin, injecting air into their veins as well, killing babies. She was found guilty of attempting to kill 6 or 7 others who survived. Basically, every time she was on shift, a baby died. And every time she was off shift, there were no deaths. She also, as part of the evidence, there were written notes that police found in her bedroom, scrawled notes, just mental scrawling saying, I did this, I'm evil, I'm not good enough to take care of them. However, on the flip side, critics who say Lucy is innocent because all the evidence is just circumstantial, critics say that you write those notes as part of a therapy kind of process, and she was seeing a therapist, and apparently you're meant to write down your deepest, darkest fears, and that's what those notes were. I mean, for me, the note is just, it's just completely
damning.
Completely damning, yeah. Matt, have you heard of this case at all?
I did some research myself going into this interview, but here's what I can tell you. This is, first of all, someone's been convicted of murder of multiple babies, and so obviously there are victims here. Those babies are victims. The parents and the loved ones of those babies are victims. And right now, frankly, I don't think they're too concerned about the feelings around a Netflix documentary. But with that said, I think what this further highlights is that there really is no privacy anymore. I mean, everything is public, and whether that's on social media or through documentaries, the truth is everything is public. This is a very public case, obviously, and that's a bigger element here.
And for me, it also brings up I'm about to embark on a documentary on the death penalty, because there are massive calls in the UK from prominent politicians to bring back the death penalty. We've had some absolutely demonic scumbags doing the rounds in recent years, killing kids, all sorts. Axel Rudabakana, he shouldn't be walking this earth. I'm interested about the death penalty, the threshold for the death penalty. Would Lucy Letby be one of those people, if the death penalty returned to the UK, would she have been given the death penalty, despite the contentious conviction and the concern around her conviction? Joining me live down the line is the head of lifestyle economics at the Institute for Economic Affairs, Christopher Snowdon. Christopher, good morning, thanks for your company. Where do you stand on Letby? Where do you stand on the documentary, and is she innocent?
Where I stand on her, she is not innocent, as far as I can tell. The claims have been made over the last 2 years saying that she is innocent. I do not think are going to stand up in the Court of Appeal, if it even gets there. I think there's a reasonable chance the CCRC, the Criminal Cases Review Commission, will hand the files over from her defence lawyer to the Court of Appeal, just because of the amount of public pressure. But I think there's absolutely no chance that the Court of Appeal will let it go or order a retrial or anything like that, because the medical questions, the arguments made by this team of neonatologists, really, from what we've seen of it so far, it's really quite sloppy, error-strewn work, much of which has already been debunked in the trial that went on for 10 months in the first place. So I don't think there's any chance at the current time, with what we know at the moment, of her being released, and therefore I've got to say, of course, she's guilty.
What do you make of the Netflix documentary? Is it bad taste? Is it unfair on the parents for the police to give Netflix footage of the arrest of Lucy in their home? Their concern is that they've got their home plastered now forever all over the world, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously not good for them. It's not good for them anyway, the situation that they're in. It's not their fault that their daughter was a narcissistic psychopath. But the world we live in is that this kind of information is available. True crime documentaries are all over the place. It was obvious that this was going to turn up on Netflix. There's already been loads of documentaries about this case already on UK television. Yeah. So look, it's a shame for them, but I mean, I doubt it will actually be a problem for them in practice, and I'm afraid they'll just have to move house if it is.
Well, that's what I think as well. Just move house, guys. Like, your daughter was living there. She's been convicted of killing babies. The world knows where you live. Just move house. I know it's probably an awful time. Your daughter's been banged up for life, and I sympathise with you as parents. But just move house. Christopher, thank you very much. Appreciate your time. Thanks for your company. We'll catch up soon. Somebody on your say has said, Boko Thistleworth, you're talking rubbish, Ben. There were no insulin injections, only alleged air in IV lines. I'm afraid to say, with respect to you, it was accused in court that Lucy Letby injected babies with insulin. Nurses denied injecting them with insulin. Tests showed that babies were injected with insulin they didn't need. She denied it. Still ahead on The Late Show Live.
We have a lot of very big, very powerful ships sailing to Iran right now, and it would be great if we didn't have to use them.
Well, Iran has reportedly been caught red-handed covering up bombed nuclear sites. That's as breaking tonight. President Trump has revealed he's in talks with the Islamic Republic about a potential deal. I don't think there's a deal happening. I think they're going to strike next week. More on that in just a tick on The Late Show Live. Don't go anywhere.
GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens. Opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I got up?
About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, you didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to The Late Show Live with me, Ben Leo. Let's delve into some of the main stories on the front pages hitting the shelves tomorrow. Charlotte Griffiths is still with us, and indeed Matt Terrell and Mally Smith. Charlotte, should we look at your paper, The Mail on Sunday? You've got some great stories in there, not least this one about Epstein being bankrolled by the KGB.
His front page is that Epstein's sex empire was a KGB honey trap because 1,000 documents referred to Putin and 9,629 referred to Moscow. And it's turned out that Epstein was having audiences with Putin after he went to prison. And it does explain why he had this fabulous, ultra-wealthy, extraordinary lifestyle. But you can see from a lot of his emails, he could barely spell, he could barely string a sentence together, actually. So people have always been baffled, why was he so successful? Where did it all come from? So was it the world's largest honey trap? In which case, it would fit that somebody like Andrew would fall right into a honey trap, because we all know that Andrew's not the brightest button in the box. So yes, I think it's good exclusive, that one.
Yeah, it's a great story. I noticed that as well, Charlotte. I was reading Epstein's emails. He was just, he's just dense. Maybe, I don't know, he just couldn't spell, he had no grammar about him. But Mali, wasn't it the case that Epstein was always linked to Israel and Mossad, and he was some Mossad kind of asset?
There certainly were rumors and conspiracy theories that he was an Israeli intelligent asset. There's also some connections to Ghislaine Maxwell, very obvious ones.
Robert Maxwell.
Robert Maxwell to the Israel government. But I mean, I think the real reason people connect him, not only because we have these emails now, but even before that, to intelligence services, is that folks from across the world look at this and they're like, this guy has connections to all of these famous and important people. As we've noted, he can't really spell. He doesn't seem like he's that interesting of a person. And he has all these connections, and then we see all of this overwhelming evidence that he is a terrible person committing these crimes, and it takes forever for him to be arrested and brought to justice, and then all the folks around him who were doing notorious things haven't been brought to justice in any sense. So I think it just begs folks thinking, like, is there some sort of national security intelligence apparatus that's keeping him and folks safe?
I think he was definitely an asset of somebody, Matt. I didn't know, though, Charlotte just pointed out, Epstein met Putin after his 2008 conviction. I mean, that's a surprise to me.
Yeah, look, well, Epstein was plugged in with a lot of different people. That's very clear based on what we're seeing with the release of all the information coming out here. And look, for those who did wrongdoing, obviously what Americans want, people around the world want, is for those individuals to be brought to justice. But again, you're going to see a lot of individuals who are going to be included in all of this information, who may have known him but didn't do anything wrong. So I think it's important for everybody to put this into context, be methodical about this. That's what's important here. But the bottom line is Americans nationwide in particular, and those in that mega base who voted for President Trump, they want transparency, they want justice. And I think it's a good move by the administration to continue, with the DOJ, to continue releasing all the information that they have and doing that in the proper way.
I mean, it just seems like this guy was the Forrest Gump of celebrities and important people. It seems like once you got to a certain point of either fame or importance, it's like, well, now you got to meet Epstein. I don't know why everyone is in these files, but it's pretty depressing.
Oh, look, there's a dual box of me. They love me so much, they put me in two boxes. Charlotte, I'm just reading the Mail on Sunday. It says, security sources say Robert Maxwell, of course, Ghislaine's father, was a Russian asset from the 1970s when he worked to extradite Soviet Jews to Israel, with involvement of Israel intelligence service Mossad. In return, they say Maxwell laundered Russian money into the West. This whole thing is so deep, dark, seedy, complex, and you just wonder what's going on still today. Surely that's not the end of this kind of I get it, man. Is it the deep state? Imagine what's going on today that we don't know about, Charlotte.
I know, you have to wonder. There's just so much out there. And interestingly, Epstein said in the latest tranche of files that he believes Robert Maxwell's life, he said, was ended or something like that. So anyway, he obviously believed Robert Maxwell was killed and didn't accidentally fall off a boat. So yeah, you have to wonder. The web is deep and complex, and I'm sure this will rumble on for years to come and will become the source of much fascination for like movie makers and all sorts.
Yeah. Okay, before I let you go, Charlotte, I want to look at the front page of the Daily Star because I know it's a serious subject, but the headline gave me a little bit of a giggle. It's Prince Andrew, creepy crawler. So the picture of Prince Andrew on the floor doing whatever he's doing, I don't know what he's doing there, but the headline, creepy crawler, I think it's a great tabloid headline. I'd appreciate that. Right, Charlotte, stick with us. You'll be with us again for the next hour or so. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Mali. gbnews.com/you'll let us know what you think about that. Somebody's called me, they've insulted me. Ben Leo is an absolute T-word. I hope his children never get wrongly accused of murder. There were many babies that died when Lucy were not on shift. In fact, several consultants have since been charged with manslaughter. Thank you, Claire. Appreciate your company. Glad you're a fan. More on The Late Show Live in the next hour, including this.
Today, clouds overhead. Total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Good morning and welcome to your GB News weather update brought to you by the Met Office. Well, to start the new month, it's cloudy. We've got further spells of rain, but perhaps some brighter interludes coming in to the far west later. On the whole, though, it's a cloudy picture out there with outbreaks of rain. We just need to keep mind of some outbreaks of rain towards the southwest. That's giving us some uncertainty today. Otherwise, a band of rain across Northern Ireland will continue to push its way eastwards into northern parts of England, southern Scotland, into Wales and eventually into the Midlands. Brighter and drier behind that across Northern Ireland with glimmers of sunshine across the far southwest of Wales and Devon and Cornwall. Otherwise, the temperatures will be around average for the time of year. Now, across Scotland this evening, we hold on to a good deal of cloud with outbreaks of rain, most persistent across Orkney and Shetland in that southeasterly breeze, but drier across Northern Ireland to end Sunday evening. Again, likewise across the far southwest of Wales and into Devon and Cornwall, but for the most part across England, especially across the southeast, we hold on to plenty of rain. So a damp end to the weekend here, further spells of rain just persisting, especially across Orkney and Shetland. Clearer skies across Northern Ireland and the far west. That will allow temperatures to fall to give icy stretches, frost and perhaps some mist and fog. So a chilly start to Monday here. Elsewhere, temperatures still generally above freezing to start Monday morning. So as we go through Monday, well, it's again a messy picture out there. We've got further spells of rain, more so later on across the southwest, where a yellow Met Office rain warning does come into force. Otherwise, showers most persistent across northern England and especially towards the northeast. Again, falling wintry at higher levels, especially across the northeast of Scotland. Otherwise, temperatures around average.
Today, clouds overhead. Total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
Because
the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, you didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster, the ultimate clique. And you're fighting like rats in a sack. But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask. OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician. Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits. You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it. That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless. But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show. Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m. weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Tom Harwood. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Very good morning to you. Thank you for your company. Live from Washington, D.C., this is GB News with the stories shaping Britain and America. Breaking tonight, anti-ICE protesters hijack the Trump Tower in New York City. Los Angeles descends into a war zone and the US government enters a partial shutdown. And now it looks like President Trump has had enough as he makes a major intervention on the protests. I'll bring you the details of that incredible announcement very shortly.
Mr. Gates, do you have anything further to say about the Epstein files that mentioned your name overnight?
Cheers, bud.
There's even more bombshell revelations from the Epstein files. Sir Keir Starmer tonight has just pushed for the former Prince Andrew to tell all here in the United States. Now, there's a new picture breaking tonight of Lord Peter Mandelson in his boxers, in his Y-fronts, released in the files. I'm sure you want to see that. That's coming in just a second. And also elsewhere, a series of explosions kills 5 people in Iran. That follows threats from President Trump. Officials say gas leaks caused them, but do you believe them? Is there more to this than Iran wants to admit? I'm Ben Leo. This is The Late Show Live. Remember, no breaks this hour. Hello, welcome along to The Late Show Live. Joining me this evening in Washington is my panel, the former Chief of Staff for Marco Rubio for President, Matt Terrell, and the Democrat strategist, Mally Smith, and in London, the editor-at-large of The Mail on Sunday, Charlotte Griffiths. Thank you all for being here tonight. Right, breaking tonight, some big news. President Trump has instructed Immigration and Customs Enforcement agents, ICE, to be, quote, very forceful in their protection of federal buildings. In a post on Truth Social this evening, he's also announced that the government will not be helping Democrat-run cities with anti-ICE riots and protests unless help is specifically requested. He added in a very lengthy post on Truth, there will be no spitting in the faces of our officers, there will be no punching or kicking the headlights of our cars, and there will be no rock or brick throwing at our vehicles or at our patriot warriors. If there is, those people will suffer an equal or more consequence. That follows protests in New York today, where the iconic Trump Tower lobby was taken over by protesters. Have they not got anything better to do on their weekend? Elsewhere, last night, as we reported, Los Angeles, pictures on your screens now, well, it descended into a war zone pretty much as protesters aimed to destroy an immigration centre. Police there being pushed back, ICE agents having rocks and bottles thrown at them. Well, joining me live in DC now is my panel. Matt Terrell, Mally Smith and Charlotte Griffiths is down the line as well. What do you make of all these anti-immigration protests, Matt? When are they going to come to a head? Because we see deportations and arrests in the likes of Texas, in Tennessee, Florida, red states. Number of protests? 0. So is it about ICE? Is it about the operation, or is it just about the guy sitting in the White House?
It's a lot about the guy sitting in the White House. This is a lot about politics. And look, the truth is the leaders, I really don't even call them that right now, but the governor of Minnesota and the mayor of Minneapolis have not been helping with their rhetoric. You know, calling ICE fascists and Nazis. We've heard that from Democrat politicians. But look, President Trump has a job to do right now, and that is to fulfill his campaign promise, and that was to secure the border and deport people who are in this country illegally from the country. And right now, polling supports what President Trump is doing. If you look at recent polling, Republicans are outperforming Democrats on illegal immigration and on border security. The vast majority of Americans agree with deporting people who are in this country illegally, who've committed heinous crimes like rape and homicide. We've seen.
Do they agree though with what we are seeing on the streets?
I think right now.
I've seen polling. Maybe Mali suggesting otherwise.
No, the polling is pretty clear. This is the first time that we've seen in the history of polling that there's a plurality of support for abolishing ICE. We have never seen that in polling before.
But that is just because of Trump. We had ICE under Obama. Obama was the supporter-in-chief. Sorry, go on.
But we're talking about, in general, American support for President Trump's immigration policies. We see that Americans broadly think, about 70% to 80%, that the killings of Renee Good and Alex Pretty were unjustified. We see that there is broad support in providing a pathway to citizenship for undocumented immigrants who haven't committed a crime. And in regards to Trump's immigration policies, Trump is underwater now on immigration. This is not something that has been in one poll. It's been in every poll. Fox News, Reuters, Ipsos, Politico, YouGov. Trump is underwater on immigration, and it was one of his top issues. And if Trump wasn't underwater on these issues, he wouldn't have agreed to negotiate with Democrats to potentially have reforms for ICE in this upcoming government funding negotiation.
Well, he needed that bill to go through. He needed they needed the money.
If they felt that they were in a strong position, they would have not entered in a 2-week negotiation with Democrats on things, common sense reforms that Americans agree with, like making ICE agents not masked, making sure they wear body cams, and making sure they have warrants for the people they actually arrest.
Well, we're entering a 2-week, window here, if you will, based on the fact that Democrats have tried to hold up passing through a budget, keeping the government open, over saying that they want to defund ICE. Well, the reality is ICE was already funded under the One Big Beautiful Bill. But putting that aside, back to immigration, what Americans want right now is to have safety and security. And that's on the ballot during the 2024 presidential election, an election that President Trump won. And the truth is this, the polling is showing Republicans right now are leading Democrats on the issue of illegal immigration and border security. Now, it doesn't mean that, and Tom Homan and the administration, the Trump administration, made it clear that doesn't mean that things can't be better. They can be. And I think sending in Tom Homan into Minneapolis was the right move. This is somebody who has worked for both President Trump and President Obama. He worked for President Obama when President Obama was using ICE to deport illegal immigrants from this country. This is an issue that's going to be on the ballot in these upcoming midterm elections. And I think right now, those independent, undecided voters, low propensity voters, are going to decide the election. Not Republicans, not Democrats. I think they're going to side with President Trump on trying to keep America safe and secure.
They've been deciding elections, and in 2025, we swept the governor's races in Virginia, New Jersey. We won and outperformed in every special election pretty much that we've held. And Trump has never been underwater on immigration and during his entire time politically up until now.
It's interesting.
That is clearly an issue for him politically.
I thought we lived in a fascist state here in America, and you've got elections going on. So are you in a fascist state or not? Because there were elections which you won.
I don't think we're in a full fascist state. I don't love some of Trump's rhetoric, but I'm glad we still have elections, and I'm glad we're winning them.
All right, let's take it back to Blighty. Charlotte Griffiths is down the line. Charlotte, what's your take as a Brit back home when you look at ICE and you see the headlines and you see the stories on social media? What's your perception of ICE and the immigration crackdown here in America?
Well, the message that comes over here to the UK is probably a lot less nuanced. We see the big pictures. So we see the picture of the 5-year-old who got arrested with his dad. I know there's some discrepancy about whether his dad had run away or not. Obviously, the killing of Renee and Alex. And now we're seeing this imagery of Trump Tower and all these protests outside Trump Tower. So I just wonder whether, obviously it must be on the US news all the time, but we just get these kind of little snapshots. And I've got to say, the fact that Trump's gone on Truth Social and instructed ICE to be very forceful, given there have been 2 deaths involving ICE in the last few weeks, I'm really surprised that he doubled down. I'm amazed he's asked them to be more forceful than they've already been.
OK, Louise Mensch is also with us, former Conservative MP, live from New York. Louise, what's your take on ICE? There's lots of contradictory claims about polls going around. Americans support the crackdown, Americans don't support the crackdown. What's your take?
Well, I must say that I agree with your guest there that I think worked for Marco Rubio in the polls that I took another look at just before I came on this show. There does seem to be a really clear level of disapproval of ICE at the moment. And Trump's support in a separate poll from independents over the last week, and the sample was 3/4 after the killing of Alex Pretty, his support with independents fell from 40% to 31%. That's a 9-point drop with independents in a single week. And I think what I took away from Trump's Truth Social post there was something slightly different to your other guests. I noticed at the end there he said, I was elected for border security, which we have now perfected. In Trump world, I think that is Donald Trump saying he's not going to be sending ICE into cities anymore. And that's why he says, if you have illegal immigration problems, it's your own fault. And then he says he wants ICE agents to be strong, but protecting federal buildings, which is not what they're doing right now. They're going into Minnesota, they're looking for people, you know, terrible optics with the 5-year-old child because it was a terrible thing. And Trump has had enough of the bad publicity. He really has.
What do you make of the fact, I mean, the Tories, your old party, they were, I think, was it last year, was it Kemi or somebody saying that we need a UK ICE? What do you think reform, say reform, according to the polls, they're going to win the next election, right? I think it's a long way to go. I don't think it's going to be as easy as that. But say reform win the election, Nigel Farage is Prime Minister. What do you think they can learn from what's going on now in America with ICE, with immigration, with the deportations, the mass deportations, which reforms say they want to do? What can they take from all this?
I think what they can take away from it is just don't go too far. As all of you guys agree, Trump came in strong on immigration. People wanted the poorest border under Joe Biden fixed. They were all for deporting what they believed to be criminals. But the argument that everybody that came across the border is a criminal, most people want them to concentrate on those people that commit burglaries, rapes, crimes. They want those people deported. Instead, Trump, having a winning hand, if you like, he took it way too far. He empowered these people that thought it was a game. Anybody could see the frame by frame there. Alex Pretty, member of the NRA, allowed to carry a weapon. That's the Second Amendment. He was disarmed and, quite frankly, executed. And I fully expect in the fullness of time that we're going to see those officers tried for murder. Americans want to see bad criminals sent back to Mexico. They were promised MS-13, and what they got instead was Renee Good and Alex Pretty, US citizens, shot in the streets. So, yes, by all means, go after the works,
I hear you, Louise.
but do it sensibly.
But surely, by definition, those who broke into the country illegally are criminals. No, that's the kind of take from the White House. Caroline Leavitt has sat up at the briefing room and said that as well. And also, with regards to Good and Pretty, of course they didn't deserve to die. But my argument on those two is, what are you doing going down to interfere with armed law enforcement, trying to defend illegal migrants, illegal criminals, also in the case of Pretty, armed as well. The week before, gobbing on ICE agents, kicking their car. Of course, you don't deserve to die. Maybe those officers will be done for murder, who knows? But make a better decision, I say. Like, what are you doing down there?
I think it's perfectly fair to say, look, you have, we're all about freedom of speech on GB News, are we not? And they do have a First Amendment right to protest. They've got a right to record federal agents with their cell phones, which is what Pretty was doing. And frankly, it just doesn't come very well from Trump-supporting Republicans who are all about the Second Amendment and, you know, muscular conservatism to say, ooh, this guy was carrying a gun and he had two, count them, two magazines.
But it's against the law to impede an investigation, Louise, no?
Sorry, say that again?
Sorry, it's against the law in America to impede an active law enforcement investigation, which is what they were doing. So they were breaking the law.
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. Nobody's been charged with that, by the way, as far as I know, unless you're actually pushing federal agents, which he was not doing. You can see by the frame by frame he was filming them, and they didn't like it. They pushed him to the ground. He's got one hand out steady himself, the other one is holding a cell phone. That any way you cut it, it might be annoying and it might be counterproductive, if you like, because it makes Trump look right about the unrest in the cities. So I would say you're not doing yourselves any favors with this stuff. But frankly, he did have a right to do what he did, which was recording them, because he didn't assault them. And there was absolutely no way that they should have disarmed him first, and after he was safely disarmed, then subsequently shot him 4 times in the back.
Yeah. No, I hear you. The footage doesn't look good. But again, on the flip side as well, is if the Minneapolis Police Department were doing their jobs and arrested Pretty the week before when he spat on officers and kicked their car, maybe he wouldn't have been down there that day. But I mean, hindsight's a great thing. Just on this now, we've got some breaking news coming into the newsroom. It's being reported that the Department for Homeland Security agents at DHS in Laredo in Texas appear to have just been involved in another shooting after an attempted ramming of officers. Footage, if you're watching on telly now on your screens, appears to show a white vehicle attempting to flee as federal officers fired as it moved. So the car drives off, shots are fired by the officers. This is the first time I'm seeing this. Matt, your first take on this. So this is in Laredo in Texas. Another shooting. I'm guessing it's a DHS. It's an ICE potentially operation.
Yeah, unfortunately, we're seeing these acts, and Democrat politicians are not helping when they, in my view, encourage a lot of this violence. And so the bottom line is you have to have leaders step up right now and say, hey, it's one thing to protest in peace. It's another thing to protest in violence. And ramming ICE agents with your vehicle is inappropriate, it's against the law, and it's dangerous. And the bottom line right now is we need leaders in the Democrat Party to step up to the plate and tell people to knock this off. But beyond that, I go back to, I think the majority of Americans are going to stand with President Trump and what he is doing nationwide to crack down on illegal immigration, remove illegal immigrants who are in this country illegally from the country, and then, as Tom Homan pointed out, really also narrow in on those who've committed heinous acts. You go back to Minneapolis, you think about the people that they're deporting there who are legally in the country. Many of them have committed rape, homicide, horrific acts.
Yeah, but Louise's point is that they are going after just illegals who have done nothing apart from break into the country.
So we have some data on this. Only 5% of the folks ICE has arrested have a violent criminal record. So they're not targeting the worst. One of the reasons that we are having these issues is that it used to be under the Obama administration and the Biden administration, ICE would do extensive research and have warrants and focus on the bad guys. Now we have these street stops like we're seeing right here, which are causing a lot of these issues.
Okay, this new clip. Sorry to interrupt.
But hold on, let me just say, we're just seeing the clip, so I don't feel really great to comment on.
DHS said the car tried to ram the agents.
Okay, the DHS said that. DHS also said that during the Minnesota shooting, that it was an illegal immigrant who was shot and killed in Minnesota, and you retweeted that. So I don't think we can talk about what the Trump administration says because they clearly lie. They also said Alex Preddy brandished his weapon and that he was a domestic terrorist before they had seen the clip. So again, we will see more of what this shooting involves and what happens, but I don't think we can take Homeland Security at their word.
Yeah, well, the police department, the Laredo Police Department, haven't issued a statement on the matter. This is the breaking footage you're seeing on your screen now. However, they did put a post out on social media which said, heavy law enforcement presence in the Mines Road area. There was a pursuit involving law enforcement from a different agency in the Mines Road area. The situation has been contained and there's no further risks to the surrounding area or residencies. Charlotte Griffiths, you're still with us down the line. Yeah, do you want a UK ICE, Charlotte? Would you like to see, or do you think Brits, not you really personally, but you as well, do you think Brits would like to see a UK ICE to deal with the small boats crisis, get rid of everyone who's coming across the channel?
I think there's definitely an appetite for anyone that's come over in a small boat and is in a migrant hotel or in barracks to be sent back. I can't see a world in which good old Blighty does these street stops and targets people in the way that ICE does. You know, I agree with what you were saying earlier about, you know, it's the street stops that make such a difference. You've got to have a warrant. And, you know, if people are going to escape, it could be perceived as ramming, or it could be somebody wanting to get away. Maybe they're in fight or flight, they're in their vehicle, so they just make a dash for it. And if that can get misconstrued because there's all these scrums on the streets, it's so disorganised. So I think in Blighty, we do like to kind of queue and be organised and have warrants. And some may say two-tier policing as well, which might just complicate things. But I think there would be an appetite to return, but of course not this kind of chaos on the streets with ICE.
Yeah, I'm not sure, Charlotte. It'd be interesting to see if some polling company, YouGov or somebody. Louise, let me ask that question to you as I was about to say a former Brit, but you, of course, are a dual national. Do you think the British public would overwhelmingly approve of something like ICE in the UK?
Yeah, I think they would, as long as I said before, they don't overdo it. I personally can't see in this specific video if the guy was using his car to ram agents, in which case his car was a weapon and it's fine or not. We will, I dare say, find out. But the British public are not the kind of people that want to see overbearing agents taking, I don't know, Just Stop Oil. I mean, those people are incredibly annoying swampies, aren't they? But they wouldn't like it if you forced them down and then shot them in the back. So if we could just get a little bit of sort of moderation, hard law enforcement, policing up gangs, gang members, and people that come in and abuse the welfare system illegally in Britain, that would be hugely popular. And I don't think we should reject it out of hand just because ICE has got, frankly, even for me as a hardcore conservative, ICE has got a little bit out of hand over here.
OK, interesting. Louise, thanks very much for your company tonight. A pleasure, as always. Enjoy the rest of your weekend and we'll catch up soon. That's Louise Mensch, former Conservative MP. Right, you've been getting in contact with your thoughts on today's stories at gbnews.com/YourSay. Let's read a couple. Bernadette, hello Bernadette. You've said they are professional activist groups, the protesters. If they're willing to give up their life for their cause, that's their problem. And again, yeah, Bernadette, I agree. That kind of goes back to what I was saying to Louise. Of course nobody deserves to die. Maybe those ICE agents, those border agents will be done for murder, but make a sensible decision. Don't go and agitate armed law enforcement week after week, especially when you're armed as well. Just, I don't know, make better decisions and your chances of getting killed will probably go down. Paul, you've said it's all Democrat states that are protesting, so more illegal migrants into those states and leave them to it. That's what President Trump is saying. And another one says, get serious. ICE are not shooting casual bystanders. These are people, Mally, aggressively confronting them during actual operations.
I mean, we have video. 70 to 80% of Americans think it was unjustified. This British guy might disagree, but 80% of Americans don't agree with him.
All right. Lynn says Trump has not taken this far enough. The people who come across the borders are called illegals for a reason. They're breaking the law. Get rid of them all. I agree as well. I think by the very definition of their behaviour, they broke into the country illegally, so get them out. Matt, one last word to you.
Yeah, I just think that if you're here in the country illegally, under President Trump, expect to be deported. And again, I do think this administration is focusing in, under Tom Homan specifically, and others in the administration, focusing on those who've been in this country illegally and have committed crimes, serious crimes, like rape, sexual assault. And the data I have seen shows that the majority of the people deporting from this country are those who are committing heinous acts such as those.
Yeah, and also, before I move on, very quickly, these people are, these agents are doing what they were voted to do, what President Trump was voted to do. They're on his instructions. Why are you defending illegal migrants in the first place? They don't care about you. Manny, let me ask you, why do these people want to defend illegal migrants? They don't care about them.
First off, I feel like we're just getting worrying data. The data I've seen is that 5% of the folks that they have round up are violent criminals. So no, they are not targeting the worst. And folks who have been in this country for years, who are good members of this community, let's say they were brought here as a child.
Right, so you want them to stay?
So let's say they were brought here as a child, which it wasn't their choice, brought to my home state of North Carolina at the age of 4. They're here for 20, 25 years, and they don't have a pathway to citizenship. I think they shouldn't be punished for the actions of their parents.
But how many cases of that are there? I can't think there's probably too many.
There is a significant amount of cases. That's why the Obama administration instituted DACA, Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals. So yes, there are folks who fit into that bucket.
Okay, I just think, I mean, I talk for the UK now. Well, I don't talk for the UK, of course, but I talk for a few people in the UK who are just completely fed up with...
The voice of the UK.
Yeah, well, there we go. Britain's #1 news channel for a reason. Anyway, we move on. Still ahead on The Late Show Live.
In terms of testifying, Prime Minister says, I've always said that anybody who has got information should be prepared to share that information in whatever form they are asked to do that.
That's our political editor, Christopher Hope there, who's been doing the rounds. He's been gallivanting all around Asia, following our dear leader, Sir Keir Starmer. First he was in China, now he's in Tokyo. We'll be speaking to him very shortly. Meanwhile, the Prime Minister has weighed in on the Epstein files, urging Prince Andrew to give evidence in America. And breaking in a minute, I think we've got the picture, which you will be waiting for, I'm sure. You'll have great dreams tonight. Peter Mandelson in his Y-fronts in the Epstein files. Back in a tick, no breaks. Right, as we've been saying, Keir Starmer has suggested Prince Andrew, the former Prince Andrew, Mountbatten Windsor, should testify before the US Congress over his dealings with Jeffrey Epstein. The PM's comments come after the latest release of files related to Epstein, which include images appearing to show Andrew kneeling over a female lying on the ground. As I've discussed in the first hour, I don't know what's going on here. Does it incriminate him? No. It could be something innocent. Do I think he's an idiot? Yes. Though Andrew has previously denied any claims of wrongdoing, and appearing in the files doesn't imply wrongdoing, of course. But new images tonight have been released, I've just spoken about it, of Lord Mandelson, the just released, well, oh, goodness me, there we go. On your screens now, if you're watching on television, that's Peter Mandelson. In his undies, in his wife fronts. I'm not sure on the context, not sure who the woman is, but this is a picture in the latest tranche of Epstein files. Richard Branson also mentioned in the files as well, to do with Epstein. I mean, Lord Mandelson, thank goodness, I'll just say, thank goodness he was sent home with his tail between his wife fronts. By Keir Starmer after the Epstein situation. And what a disgrace on Keir Starmer to even send him here in the first place. You're telling me he didn't know what Mandelson had been up to with his friendship with Epstein. Richard Branson tonight has distanced himself from the abhorrent Epstein after their emails appear to have a link between the two. An email exchange between Branson and Epstein took place in September 2013. It was among more than 3 million Epstein files published yesterday. In the correspondence, Branson reminisced warmly about meeting Epstein and asked for public relations advice and requested that the sex offender bring his, quote, harem to their next get-together, the next harem of ladies. Interesting. And there we go. Peter Mandelson in his wife fronts. Enjoy your nightmares tonight. Elsewhere, our political editor Christopher Hope has the latest from Tokyo, where he's travelling with the Prime Minister.
Sir Keir Starmer, the Prime Minister, has waded in to the row about Andrew Mountbatten Windsor and the increasing evidence of the closeness of his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein, the disgraced paedophile. 3 million documents released overnight in America. Some of those contain more evidence and photographs of Mountbatten Windsor's relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. But the Prime Minister has been speaking to journalists en route from Beijing to Tokyo as part of his Far Eastern trip. He says this, that in terms of the request from Congress for Andrew to give evidence to congressmen and others on Capitol Hill, he says yes. In terms of testifying, Prime Minister says, I have always said that anybody who has got information should be prepared to share that information in whatever form they are asked to do that. You can't be victim-centred, says the Prime Minister, if you're not prepared to do that. So further pressure on Andrew Mountbatten Windsor to go to Congress and say what he knew to people there investigating Jeffrey Epstein. Of course, Andrew Mountbatten Windsor denies all wrongdoing regarding Jeffrey Epstein. Christopher Hope in Tokyo for GB News.
Oh, thank you, Chopper. I love Tokyo. I went there for the first time in April last year. Very nice place, although my mate did get robbed.
You do love your travel stories.
He got spiked and robbed in Tokyo, although it's a very nice place. Although the Japanese, despite having a... I describe Japan as one of the last bastions of civilization, untouched by mass migration. However, in the last year or so, they've welcomed in, I think, more than 1 million Pakistanis and Bangladeshis for work. So good luck to you. Glad I went to Japan before mass migration took hold. Just going back to that picture of... sorry, go on, Manny.
Oh, I was just going to say that photo of Mandelson.
Yeah, can we see that again, that picture of Mandelson? I'm really keen to see him again on his wife fronts. Not. Can we see it, though? Because the pictures were dropped... sorry, Matt, you go first.
Well, I was just going to say, I mean, obviously people who are associating themselves with Epstein don't have good judgment to get yourself in this situation. But you think if you were, going to be with these folks potentially doing criminal activities, you might say, could you put the Polaroid down and not take weird photos of me?
Yeah.
Like the amount of photos that they have taken at these events and behind closed doors, if you were doing all this nefarious stuff, I think I'd say, let's put the Polaroid or digital camera down because I don't want this, but makes you go back to whether this is blackmail or not.
Did Mandelson have said, I mean, he was sacked as the ambassador to the US in September, and I think as far as I remember, his excuse was, I was an associate of Epstein, but I'm a gay man, so I was never involved in any of the weird stuff he was up to.
I too am a gay man and have never been associated with Epstein, so that's not a good.
Yeah, it was a weird excuse. But in the new files released yesterday, Matt, it had emerged Epstein had sent Mandelson's husband £10,000. So in September 2009, Ronaldo Avia da Silva, Mandelson's husband, emailed Epstein asking for money to pay for an osteopath course plus related expenses. I mean, bizarre. Mandelson said, "I was wrong to believe Epstein following his conviction and to continue my association with him afterwards. I apologise unequivocally for doing so to the women and girls who suffered." Bank statements, though, also seen by the Daily Telegraph newspaper from the Epstein files, show 2 payments of $25,000 were made to accounts under Lord Mandelson's name in June 2004. Mandelson called Epstein his best pal some years ago in a tribute book for his 50th birthday, and he was sacked, as I said, as the British ambassador in September. To ask Mali's question, why are people taking pictures of Epstein's mates? What do you think's going on?
Well, it could be that they didn't know pictures were being taken, poor judgment. Look, we saw pictures of President Clinton in a hot tub in some of these previous files have been released. The bottom line is, a lot of it, I think, is just poor judgment. And, that is an issue here. And look, this stuff is going to be out there forever. I mean, this does not go away. These pictures, this information. And even for those who did nothing wrong, let's say, and just were associated with Epstein, did nothing wrong, even they, in their case, unfortunately, have to answer for their relationship. And so that's a dynamic here. And so, look, there needs to be justice here. Part of that is the DOJ getting this information out there. I think it's good that they are. There's going to be a lot of embarrassing information for a lot of people out there, and a lot of very powerful, wealthy people at that.
Ali Elliott on Your Say has said, "Have you guys not read Virginia Giuffre's book? She clearly states that he collected Epstein footage of all his quote-unquote guests." Logical Responsible has said, "Ben, there are 5,973, I'll take your word for it, mentions of Mandelson in the newly released Epstein files." And Kay, you've said, "I'm not a Mandelson fan, but if he knew the photo was being taken, he would pose, wouldn't he? I think it's a hidden camera. It's quite blurry. I don't know if he thinks it's been taken." Yeah, good point. Very good point. Right, let's take a quick look at some of the other main news stories here in America. Breaking tonight, President Trump has announced the government will not assist Democrat-run cities with ongoing anti-immigration enforcement riots unless help is requested. In a post on Truth Social, he adds that he has instructed ICE and Border Patrol to be, quote, very forceful in the protection of federal property. Elsewhere, the FBI has begun reviewing evidence seized from an election hub in Georgia. FBI Director Kash Patel says the warrant issued covered materials connected to the 2020 election, which, of course, President Trump has repeatedly said was rigged, and he reckons fraud tainted the Georgia results in particular, the state he narrowly lost to former President Joe Biden. Easy for me to say. And a federal judge has ordered the release of 5-year-old Liam Cajon Ramos and his father from the South Texas Family Residential Center. They were detained by immigration agents in Minneapolis and sent to a Texas detention facility where they have been for more than a week. And to royal news, the King has surprised joggers at a local Sandringham Park run organised in partnership with the Move Against Cancer charity. Charles attended the event as a spectator ahead of World Cancer Day next week. Right, Iran has reportedly been caught red-handed covering up bombed nuclear sites. That's as breaking tonight. President Trump has revealed he's in talks with the Islamic Republic about a potential deal. More on that in just a second. First of all, though, let's get your weather back in the team.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Good morning and welcome to your GB News weather update brought to you by the Met Office. Well, to start the new month, it's cloudy. We've got further spells of rain, but perhaps some brighter interludes coming in to the far west later. On the whole, though, it's a cloudy picture out there with outbreaks of rain. We just need to keep mind of some outbreaks of rain towards the southwest. That's giving us some uncertainty today. Otherwise, a band of rain across Northern Ireland will continue to push its way eastwards into northern parts of England, southern Scotland, into Wales and eventually into the Midlands. Brighter and drier behind that across Northern Ireland, with glimmers of sunshine across the far southwest of Wales and Devon and Cornwall. Otherwise, the temperatures will be around average for the time of year. Now, across Scotland this evening, we hold on to a good deal of cloud with outbreaks of rain, most persistent across Orkney and Shetland in that southeasterly breeze, but drier across Northern Ireland to end Sunday evening. Again, likewise across the far southwest of Wales and into Devon and Cornwall, but for the most part across England, especially across the southeast, we hold on to plenty of rain. So a damp end to the weekend here, further spells of rain just persisting, especially across Orkney and Shetland. Clearer skies across Northern Ireland and the far west. That will allow temperatures to fall to give icy stretches, frost and perhaps some mist and fog. So a chilly start to Monday here. Elsewhere, temperatures still generally above freezing to start Monday morning. So as we go through Monday, well, it's again a messy picture out there. We've got further spells of rain, more so later on across the southwest, where a yellow Met Office rain warning does come into force. Otherwise, showers most persistent across northern England and especially towards the northeast. Again, falling wintry at higher levels, especially across the northeast of Scotland. Otherwise, temperatures around average.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
We have a lot of very big, very powerful ships sailing to Iran right now, and it would be great if we didn't have to use them.
Breaking tonight, President Trump has said Iran is talking to the United States and has hinted at a possible deal to avoid the use of military strikes. Donald Trump also added that US allies in the region were not being told of plans for possible strikes due to security reasons. I mean, that sounds funny to me. My panel are back with me now. Former Chief of Staff for Marco Rubio for President Matt Terrell and the Democrat strategist Mally Smith. Matt, there was reports doing the rounds in the past 24 hours that Saudi Arabia was not allowing the US to use airspace or bases for a strike on Iran. But now we're hearing that Iran is in talks with the US. I think these strikes are coming, don't you?
It's possible. Look, President Trump's going to leave all options on the table, and part of that is military capabilities. And, look, the bottom line is you need to have all options on the table right now. I still think President Trump wants to negotiate, and President Trump's willing to talk to anybody. But what we've seen in the past is that Iran refuses to come to the negotiating table. We saw that just a few months ago when President Trump had to use military force to obliterate their nuclear capabilities. In the end, President Trump has been clear. Stop the nuclear program and stop killing protesters. Those have been the red lines that President Trump has drawn in the sand for Iran. We'll see what Iran does, but the bottom line is this. Iran needs to either come to the table and negotiate, or I think you can expect that President Trump's going to use other tactics here, and that very well could be military force.
Yeah, I think for the sake of not just Iran, not just the brave protesters that are being slaughtered en masse, but for the sake of the West, for the sake of Great Britain, for the sake of America, just do it. The protesters, Mally, are calling on President Trump. Trump said help is on the way. Just get on with it.
Yeah, I mean, when he said that, at that time, our forces were really deployed due to the Venezuela operation. Now we're clearly repositioning them to potentially take a much more extensive strike. I think the question for me is, what is the objective of the strike? Is the strike to help, again, do more to decapitate their nuclear program and to send them a message of, if you do more to attack and hurt protesters, we will, provide, or we'll have even more force? Or is the strike going to be much more extensive to try to decapitate the regime completely and facilitate regime change? And I don't necessarily mean U.S. forces going into Iran, but I do mean such a strong strike that it topples the government. I think the tough thing with that is, I think either option is not necessarily a clear answer, because if you do a strike that doesn't fully take them out, you're going to have a regime that is teetering, that's unhappy, and that we've taken military action on, that'll feel like they're in an existential crisis. Or if you fully remove them, as we've seen with Iraq and Afghanistan, what replaces them?
Well, the exiled Crown Prince Reza Pahlavi has been in Washington, D.C. in recent weeks. He says, I'm ready to go, I've got a plan, I've got a transition team. The people of Iran, which, I mean, I guess you can't do polling there at the moment, but from what you see on social media, they want him as well. Let's speak to international affairs expert Harley Lipman. Harley, will the US strike Iran? What would it look like? And if the regime does fall, as Mali just asked, what takes its place?
Well, I could tell you very quickly the reasons why he will, and I could tell you the reasons why he won't. So the reasons why he won't do it is because his MAGA base elected him to avoid endless wars. And now America may go to war with another Muslim nation in the Middle East after Iraq and Afghanistan. He's getting a lot of pressure from Vance and others not to do this. Second reason why he won't do it is because he likes clean warfare. No American casualties, no American military equipment lost like in Venezuela. That's not going to happen in Iran. There'll be American casualties and equipment lost, and that's going to deter him. And the third reason is the ambiguity about what's next, what comes after the strike. But the reasons why he will do it is because, one, he does keep his word. He told the Iranian people help is on his way. Second, this is a demonic regime that's entire existence is based on destroying other sovereign nations. There's no country that is like that. Even when you look at the rivalry with the United States and China, China doesn't want to destroy America. They may want to dominate the world economically, but they don't want to destroy America. Iran wants to destroy Israel and the United States. And it's arrogance for us to believe that we know better what our adversaries think than their own words. So Trump could do something that would change history. Not since the fall of the Soviet Empire would the world be a lot better off if this regime, which is a world center of terrorism, all the Mideast wars that have gone on in the last 40 years have been funded and have been supported by Iran. It would create a whole new dynamic in the Middle East and give everybody hope, in particular the Iranian people.
Harley, you've explained why he would and why he wouldn't. Now you've done that, what do you personally feel will happen? I think they're going to strike next week, but I mean, what do you think?
I hope he does, because it is a demonic regime, and he'll go down in history as one of the best presidents of the last century if he does that, because that'd be an extraordinarily beneficial thing for the Iranian people and peace in the world. But I'm worried because he's a deal maker. And if I were Iran, I'd say anything to Trump now to get Trump off my back if I were representing Iran. So the worry is that Trump's going to come back and say, I've got a much bigger, better deal than Obama ever did. And the problem is, it would be a meaningless deal. You can't trust the Iranian regime. They will not keep their word. They haven't done it. So it's not going to accomplish anything. And so I hope he doesn't, fall prey to Iranian manipulation and insincerity. They will not honor an agreement. They'll just drag it out for time. They are who they are, and they're set on their goal of creating dominance in the region by persecuting people, torturing their own citizens, and that's who they are. And this is a regime that, not unlike Nazi Germany, will do benefit for the world if they go. I hope he does it. What would I really believe? I don't know. I'm 50-50. I just don't want him to come back and say we got a deal, because it'll be worthless.
Yeah. Harley, thank you so much. Fascinating hearing you speak and your analysis. I hope they do as well. Call me a warmonger, I don't care. Iran are a menace. In the United Kingdom, the head of MI5 a couple of weeks ago said that they foiled 20 Iranian-linked terror plots to Iranian sleeper cells. We had some Iranians arrested on the way to bomb, allegedly accused of, the Israeli embassy in Kensington some months ago, last year at some point. They're everywhere, completely everywhere. And that's just in the UK. So I hope it's done. I hope for the sake of the brave Iranian protesters who are dying en masse, they're giving their lives for the future of their country, for their kids, for their grandkids. I hope President Trump sticks to his word and says,
and if I could add just one last thing. No, yeah, okay. Nobody wants war. And the problem is people hear Trump attacking Iran, sounds like Trump's a warmonger. It's not at all. Think of this analogy. In 1939, we came to the aid of Poland and stopped Hitler. 70 million people would have been alive after that who died. This would be a war to save lives. So for all those people who say, oh no, I don't want war, I don't want people dying, think of all the people that'll be saved to take out this demonic regime.
Yeah, well said, Harley. Thank you very much, mate. Appreciate it. Have a good weekend. We'll catch up soon. That's Harley Lippman, international affairs expert. Thanks, Harley. Right, still ahead on the Late Show Live, all the major headlines making the front pages of Sunday's papers. Charlotte Griffiths is still with us, and we'll be getting stuck into, well, this one. Look at that. There's worse to come. The once praised Prince Andrew, Mountbatten, Windsor. This is the Late Show Live. Back in a second. Right, let's delve into some of the main stories on the front pages tomorrow. Charlotte Griffiths is still here, and my panel, Matt Terrell and Mally Smith. One quick news story breaking today. President Trump is planning a monument on a scale America has never seen before. So his proposed triumphal arch, I mean, this is a President Trump thing, isn't it? To mark the nation's 250th birthday will soar to a staggering 250 feet, far taller than first thought, and big enough to dwarf the Lincoln Memorial here in Washington, D.C., and even the White House. So this is a picture of President Trump today showing off the arch. Yeah, earlier versions were much smaller, but insiders say the president believes only a truly towering landmark will wow tourists and deliver a statement of American power. Wow. Mally, what do you reckon of that? You've got your own arch in D.C. on the way.
I think it just shows you how misplaced the Trump administration's priorities are.
Oh, come on.
Americans elected him to tackle inflation. Americans elected him because they were unhappy with the economy. Inflation is as high as it's ever been. The job market has stalled, and this is his focus. That's why, according to the most recent Fox News poll about the economy, more folks are unhappy with Trump's economy than they were under Biden. And the majority of those voters blame Trump because he's focused on stupid projects and he doesn't care about making lives more affordable for Americans.
All right, Mally, you sound fun at parties. It's your 250th birthday, or maybe, you know, apart from Britain, the greatest country in the world. I'll tell you what, me and Matt are going to go down to the celebrations in DC, and you can go off to a dark room somewhere.
Ben, I must be pretty fun. You invite me back pretty consistently.
Yeah, it's great. Matt, what do you think of it? Sounds good?
I think it's great. Look, you know, he's getting flack from it from, frankly, Democrats and some members of the press. Look, this is President Trump being President Trump, and, you know, this kind of reminds us of what he's doing at the ballroom, right? I happen to think the ballroom is necessary. You know, I've been on the grounds of the White House, like many people here in D.C. You know, you can be at parties and events there, and your shoes are getting stuck in the mud. You know, this is a needed thing, and President Trump is doing the ballroom with donor money, with American people, donors who are deciding to donate to it. It's not him going out using taxpayer funds for this stuff, like the ballroom. So the bottom line is President Trump being President Trump. You know, it's up to him to do these kind of things, and good on him for doing it.
But what makes me laugh, and this, I say this with respect, with the Americans who complain about the ballroom, I think it was erected in like 1940 something, and yet Americans, because you're a fairly new country in the grand scheme of things, they say, oh yeah, but it's so historic, it's a historic ballroom. It's like, guys, my house in England is older than that, 1930. Charlotte, this looks like maybe Marble Arch, like a Marble Arch replica. What do you think of it? And also, President Trump is doing an Indy 500 race across DC as well to celebrate the 250th birthday.
Can I just say, as the only woman on the panel, I'm endlessly fascinated by how men erect new statues, towers, arches, and they always have to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And I just don't know what Trump's making up for in this case. But I think, why not? I mean, Trump has never been anything other than a showman. His house is absolutely paved with gold and gilt, and you know, we've seen in the new Melania movie, apparently everything shimmers with gold and lavishness, and that's just who he is, so I'm not surprised. I wonder whether the King will go anywhere near it, because apparently the King's coming over in April to mark the birthday as well. So I'd like to see him kind of cutting the ribbon or something, I don't know.
Well, Charlotte, to jump off your point, it really is the Gilded Age here in America. We have Trump continuing to add monuments we don't need, while his Treasury Secretary said Americans buy 10 to 12 houses to help them retire, showing you how out of touch he is with middle-class Americans. And his Ag Secretary said that Americans can live off $3 meals. Those meals consist of a chicken breast, a piece of broccoli, and a tortilla. This is why the Trump administration is losing. They are focused on the wrong priorities, and Americans see through it.
Matt, anything to say to that?
Oh, like the Biden administration was so in touch. You know, you had inflation that was through the roof under President Biden, gas prices that are through the roof, a border that was wide open. President Trump actually listened to the American people, and that's why he won the last presidential election with both the popular vote and electoral college. And look, this is someone who's addressing everyday American concerns. You're seeing him do that with tax relief. You're seeing him do that with job creation. You're seeing right now an economy that is working for all Americans. You're seeing better than expected GDP growth numbers. The stock market is up. Real wages are outpacing inflation. President Trump is working for all Americans right now, and this is an economy that I think is moving in the right direction.
The job growth was so bad, he fired the BLS commissioner because he disliked the data. The last 7 months, we have lost manufacturing jobs, and unemployment ticked up. The reporting has been clear. We are in a job deep freeze, and the tax cuts were primarily to millionaires and billionaires, and they were paid for by cutting 10 million Americans from health care. That is an agenda that Democrats are going to continue to focus on and really highlight how the Trump administration is in it for themselves and their billionaire donors, and they are not in it for working Americans.
Mally, I have a feeling that maybe the Indy 500 race, the opening of the new arch and all the 250 celebrations, I don't think you're getting an invite, mate. I don't think the White House...
Given that I've worked in the last 3 presidential campaigns against Trump, I don't think I'm going to get an invite. But, you know, I don't have to hang out with a bunch of folks who were in the Epstein files, so I'll be good.
Charlotte, let me ask you, before we say goodnight, the King's trip to DC in April, is that happening? I mean, I assumed it was a dead cert because we heard stories about Charles, I think they were tongue-in-cheek, but being forced to use porta potties on the White House lawn because the East Wing's being renovated. Is he actually coming to America?
They've never actually completely confirmed it. I think partly that's to do with his health, because he has to plan things quite last minute. And also the whole Greenland debacle, you know, at one point it would have been kind of mad for the King to go over. But yeah, they won't confirm it until a bit closer to the time. But it will be unbelievably delicate when he does, because, well, Trump, just Trump being Trump, and the Greenland stuff and Canada. So he'll be walking a very fine line. But I think he probably will go. And I think William will go this year as well.
Yeah, hopefully William's here for the football. That would be great. With regards to the Greenland situation, do you remember Trump's comments a few weeks ago about NATO saying they were staying away from the front lines? It caused a massive stir. I had a go at Trump for it. He didn't apologise, but he backtracked the next day with a statement. But the rhetoric was that he released that statement praising British armed forces because there was concern or a word from the palace. Do you know anything about that? Can you fill us in, Charlotte?
I think that is very likely what happened. Yeah, I think the King will have actually put his foot down and kicked off, and not least because Prince Harry released a very lengthy statement about veterans, because Prince Harry's the voice of veterans due to Invictus.
Yeah.
And it was a highly, highly embarrassing situation for the King, because he's got his errant son briefing against Trump. He's planning an official royal visit. The whole thing was a complete nightmare. So I think word probably was sent, very much so, to Trump.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, we asked the White House twice on the day he made those comments, and the White House doubled down and said, President Trump is right, he meant what he said. And then the next day, presumably after King Charles got involved, Harry's statement as well, he backtracks with it as well. Right, thank you, Charlotte, for tonight. Appreciate your company. Anything on the news agenda next week? Can you fill us in on any scoops you're chasing? What can we expect on the news horizon at the Mail on Sunday next Sunday?
Well, I'm sorry to sound like a broken record, but I honestly think it'll be more Andrew stuff. I can't tell you what it was like on Friday night. Every journalist in England was trying to digest 3 million files in time for Saturday. And actually, as the week goes on, of course, there's probably, 2.9 million that still need to be got through. So I think that's going to be on my agenda for the week ahead.
Why do you think it's going to get worse for Fergie?
I think there'll be another tranche of emails, and it will incriminate... Well, I shouldn't say incriminate, but I think her closeness to Epstein will become more and more apparent. And she was very much... after money, and I think Andrew in some ways slightly blames Fergie for getting into that whole web, and there's some arguments to be made that Fergie did initially make that introduction into that New York scene, and then Andrew got kind of wrapped up and caught up in it all. So yeah, more files to come, and I think Fergie will be heavily mentioned in them.
Are they still together, Fergie and Andrew? I know they divorced, obviously, but they lived with each other at Royal Lodge. I mean, are they together? What's going on there? Are they just like busy mates?
No, they're not even busy mates anymore. I've heard that they've pretty much cut contact with one another. But they did have this very strange busy mate relationship. But now, actually, if Fergie just wanted him for her access to the royal family, his money and his titles, well, all of that's gone now. So she doesn't really need him anymore. He certainly doesn't need her. So, and they don't share a roof. They're not under the same roof anymore. So I think that's the end for those two, at last.
Oh, well, so much for loyalty, eh? Charlotte, thank you for tonight. Appreciate your company. It's been great having you, and have a good rest of the week. We'll catch up soon. That's Charlotte Griffiths, Editor-at-Large of The Mail on Sunday. Good night to you. I asked my panellists before I let you go for the night, what are you up to tomorrow? What's your plans?
Just taking in more news, hopefully watching some football. We'll see what happens next.
Mally?
Working out at Vita and watching HBO's The Pit.
Mally, we had one Your Say message from Georgie, something to massage your ego. It says, Mally Smith has to be the prettiest man I've seen. I'm straight as a die, however. Mally could have been in the movies. He's like a young Tony Curtis. Anything to say?
That's great. We just need to find a handsome gay guy who's saying that, not a guy who's straight as a die.
Thanks for that, Georgie. Where's my compliment? Where's Matt's compliment? We're here too, Georgie. There's still time. You've got 10 seconds left of the show. Let it come in. Guys, thanks for tonight. Matt, really great having you. Mally, thank you very much, as always. And viewers and listeners, thank you as well. I'm back tomorrow night, midnight in the UK. For now, enjoy your Sunday, sweet dreams, and good night.
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Good morning and welcome to your GB News weather update brought to you by the Met Office. Well, to start the new month, it's cloudy. We've got further spells of rain, but perhaps some brighter interludes coming in to the far west later. On the whole, though, it's a cloudy picture out there with outbreaks of rain. We just need to keep mind of some outbreaks of rain towards the southwest. That's giving us some uncertainty today. Otherwise, a band of rain across Northern Ireland will continue to push its way eastwards into northern parts of England, southern Scotland, into Wales, and eventually into the Midlands. Brighter and drier behind that across Northern Ireland with glimmers of sunshine across the far southwest of Wales and Devon and Cornwall. Otherwise, the temperatures will be around average for the time of year. Now, across Scotland this evening, we hold on to a good deal of cloud with outbreaks of rain, most persistent across Orkney and Shetland.